films, cassettes. Gosh, I miss those times, man.
Alright lads, how's it going? Have you ever wanted to play the worst of the Soviet main battle tanks, but have none of the good main battle tanks in reserve in your lineup? Then look no further than the Chinese tech tree, where even your end of the line main battle tank struggles to compete with the T-90A. Joking aside lads, today we're going to be looking at the ZTZ-99-III. Now on this channel, we've already covered the ZTZ-99-II, so you're probably wondering what the difference is. Well, basically, it's the top of the turret. The Dash 2 variant is slightly higher and more bulkier, whereas the Dash 3 is more slimlined and flatter, giving it a slightly lower profile. And that's literally the only difference between the two. They retain the same engine, mobility, armour and firepower, and this tank has basically just been added for filler. But hey ho, it's new, people want to see a review on it, so here we are. The ZTZ-99-III is a battle rating 10.7, rank 7 main battle tank found in the Chinese tech tree. To unlock this tank, you're going to have to grind out 390,000 research points before unlocking it for the cost of 1,060,000 silver lions. To put this vehicle in your lineup, it will set you back 300,000 silver lions, and for the expert and ace qualifications, it's 1,060,000 silver lions and 2,100 golden eagles respectively. In terms of rewards, with a premium account and playing realistic battles, you can expect an RP modifier of 476% and a silver lion modifier of 300%. In terms of customization, you get several camouflages available for golden eagles and 2 camouflages available on the Gaijin marketplace. So lads, is there any point actually grinding this tank, or is it just another cheap Soviet copy and paste? But before we get into the review, it's sponsor time. Are you struggling to unlock new tanks, planes and ships, or feeling left behind due to not having a premium account? Well, with the free GE Android app you can get it all for free. The developer of this app works directly with Gaijin, is 100% legal, and breaks none of the terms of service. Carry out small tasks, such as completing surveys and watching ads, and in return, you'll receive free golden eagles for War Thunder, speeding up your progression. When you earn 28 or more golden eagles, you can deposit them straight into your War Thunder account. Simple. If you download and install free GE with my link in the description below, you can enter my personal code and receive 10 golden eagles for free. Using this link directly helps me as a creator, but more importantly lads, it helps you. So let's help each other. Download free GE from the Google Play Store and start planning on what you're going to spend those eagles on. Thanks again to free GE for sponsoring this video. The ZTZ-99-III is powered by an engine producing 1,200 horsepower. Combined with the vehicle's weight of 51 tons, it gives this tank a power to weight ratio of 23.5 horsepower per ton. This is significantly lower than most of the other main battle tanks around this battle rating, with both the M1 Abrams and the T-80Us pushing about 28 horsepower per ton. This lack of power is slightly noticed on the battlefield. You do feel quite a lot slower. Especially when trying to traverse the hull of the vehicle, you do feel incredibly sluggish. Something which I never really feel like when I'm playing the M1 or a Leopard or a T-80U for example. The tank is fairly fast though in a straight line, to give it credit. It can reach 65 km per hour going forwards, but has a terrible reverse speed of 5 km per hour. I believe these tanks have their lineage with the T-72 series of Russian tanks, with the T-72s being famous for having a god-awful reverse speed. Basically, the tank is incredibly fast in a straight line, but the second you press A or W, it slows right down. It's kind of like a Challenger 2, it's fast in a straight line, but if you try and be agile with it, it just says no basically. When it comes to survivability, it's basically just a copy and paste of a Soviet era tank. It has a driver in the front of the hull, and then a gunner in command located in the turret of the vehicle. This tank uses the Soviet style auto-loading system, which means the shells and the charges are stored directly below the turret basket. The location of this central ammo rack, as well as the crew members being located on top of it, mean pretty much every penetrating round is going to set off your ammo rack and instantly kill the vehicle. Nothing new there though, that's pretty much common on all Soviet era main battle tanks. But the point in War Thunder and in real life is to not let rounds penetrate whatsoever. So what about the armour of this tank? Well, to start, it's covered frontally in ERA blocks, specifically the FY4 ERA. It provides protection from 140mm from kinetic energy projectiles, and for chemical energy weapons such as Heat FS or ATGMs, it provides 450mm of protection. This means from the front, this tank is pretty much immune to Heat FS shells, unless of course you aim for the lower frontal plate or the gun mantlet. But testing this tank against its own gun and own best ammunition at a range of 500 meters, and the lower frontal plate provides 154mm of protection, The upper frontal plate is actually surprisingly good, giving you over 700mm of protection. The turret cheeks are also very well protected, with over 780mm of protection. The typical Soviet-style tank weak spots are present though, the commander's hatch and gun mantlet. Overall, the ZTZ-99 has very trolly armour from the front, but if a round actually penetrates, it has a very poor survivability. Because of this tank's high straight line speed, as well as trolly frontal armour, I'd heavily recommend playing this tank as more of a brawler, getting close in with the enemy, where some of your other weaknesses can't really be exploited by the enemy players. The ZTZ-99-III is armed with the same 125mm ZTZ-98 cannon, the same gun as found on the Dash 2. You can carry a total of 39 rounds of ammunition, with 22 of those rounds being stored in the ready ammo rack beneath the gunner and commander. Due to there being 22 rounds in your autoloader, as well as the autoloader having a 7.1 second reload, basically the first 22 shots are fired every 7.1 second. Again, the Dash 3 showing its T-72 lineage here. Also, like most Soviet tanks, it has god-awful vertical guidance characteristics, with 13 degrees of gun elevation and 5 degrees of gun depression. While this tank's turret armour is very effective, you will struggle to use it on a ridgeline because of this. One of the major downsides of this tank is its turret rotation, another issue commonly found on Soviet-era tanks. Compared to Western tanks, which usually have 40 degrees per second traverse rate, the best you can achieve with the ZTZ-99 with an ace crew is 30 degrees per second horizontal turn rate on the turret. This makes it quite hard to get your gun on a target if an enemy appears on your flanks. The tank does have pretty good optics though. It has a constant zoom of 8. This has pluses and negatives. It's quite good at long range, but you can get a little bit tunnel visioned in close range engagements. The tank also has second generation thermal imaging, making it somewhat unique compared to contemporary Soviet vehicles. Going on to the ammunition, and we don't really have much choice here. Our stock shell is the DTP-125. It travels at 905 meters per second and contains 2.19 kilos of TNT filler. This is of course a high explosive anti-tank fin stabilised round and has 480mm of penetration, and against armour angled at 60 degrees, it goes down to 240mm of pen. It's quite a decent stock shell, but I'd rather have a PFSDS. We also have the DTB. This is basically a clone of a Soviet high explosive shell. It contains 5.46 kilos of TNT, which does make it pretty trolly. You can punch through 45mm of ammo with this thing. As I say, it's good for trolling, but it's not very reliable, at least not to a newer player. In the first rank of our upgrades though, we get access to the 125-1 shell. This is an APFSDS round travelling at 1730 meters per second. At a range of 1000 meters, it can penetrate 450mm of flat armour, and when targeting armour angled at 60 degrees, again at 1000 meters, that drops down to 260mm of armour. Not the best round available to a main battle tank in War Thunder, but considering it's a rank 1 upgrade, it's not too bad. We then unlock the next shell, and our final shell, the DTW-125. This travels slightly faster at 1740 meters per second, and at a range of 1000 meters, it can penetrate 532mm of flat armour and 308mm of armour angled at 60 degrees. The tank also has a laser warning receiver as well as a laser rangefinder, as well as a standard coaxially mounted rifle caliber machine gun and the pinto mounted 12.7mm machine gun used by the commander. To be honest though lads, the firepower of this tank isn't that impressive. It's kind of just like a T-72B 1989 with a slightly better round. So, should you grind it? I'm going to go ahead and say no. As you've seen in this video, the ZTZ-99-III doesn't really offer anything unique. Kind of like the entire Chinese tech tree to be honest. It's mainly just Soviet vehicles that have slightly better electronics. In many ways, the ZTZ-99 is basically just a T-72B, but with slightly better thermals and a main round. The Chinese tech tree in War Thunder at the minute is rather underwhelming. It doesn't have the support vehicles necessary to buff out the lineup, and the tanks that we do have, the main battle tanks, aren't really good enough to carry it. It would be kind of like playing top tier Russia with just the T-90A, T-72B and the T-80B. They're alright vehicles, but they just can't compete in the modern top tier War Thunder matches. So unless the Chinese tech tree gets incredibly good vehicles in the near future, I cannot recommend the ZTZ-99 or the Chinese vehicle tech tree. As always lads, I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment, leave a like if you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for watching.